And coming up in this broadcast, Akosombo Dam spillage victims yet to receive their compensation more than a year after floodwaters submerged their homes and destroyed their livelihoods.
Including consultancy and other compensations, 261 million Ghana cedis.
Okay, including consultancy.
And compensations and all that.
Okay, including compensation as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Including compensation.
Yes, we need provision for compensation because somebody will be farming on the land and we want to acquire the location for resettlement. That farmer needs to be compensed. That's it.
We will hear from the affected parties shortly as Parliament's ad hoc committee commences investigations into the spillage. Also in this broadcast, political gimmicks or realistic promises. Tonight on Starr Today, we place a microscope on former President Mahama's promise to scrap some draconian taxes within his first 90 days if elected as president, as Dr. Bawumia promises similar.
We'll scrap draconian taxes to alleviate hardship and ease the high cost of doing business in our first 90 days in office.
The tax amnesty regime comes into place, the flat tax regime comes into place, the e-levy will go.
We will be hearing from some spokespersons on the various campaign teams and engage a tax consultant on the feasibility of these tax cuts. Also in this broadcast, residents of Triponin lament over 2 months disconnected power supply as it urges government to fix the menace or face their wrath.
Within those times I'm talking of, it was fluctuating on and off all the time. So as we speak currently, it's over 1 week or two now that the light has been cut off. So I want the government to do it, to come to our aid.
And later, disagreement over parking place of District's Road Improvement Project in Upper Manyakrobo leads to clash between NDC and NPP supporters. There are details of these and many other stories coming up in this broadcast. Do stay.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Cool 103.5 FM in Ho, Rage and Might FM in Tamale, Sonali FM in Wa, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM.
Thank you very much for choosing Starr Today. Now, there is no end in sight to the trauma and anguish being suffered by the victims of the Akosombo Dam spillage. This follows revelations that the government is yet to honor its promise and construct new housing units for the victims. The Ministry of Works and Housing has revealed consultancy and compensation will cost some 261 million cedis. The 7-member committee formed by Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagwin and chaired by MP for Ahafwano North Sulemana Adamusani today commenced investigation into the spillage of the Akosombo and Kwong dams. The committee is tasked with the responsibility of evaluating the preparedness and response of the Volta River Authority and relevant bodies to assess impacts of the spillage on the affected communities and the adequacy of the relief efforts, among others. Here are excerpts of what transpired today.
And like my chief director stated earlier on, when the event happened, we were commissioned to go to the field to verify and to get the numbers of the affected buildings. And the most affected communities, districts are the North Tongue, Central Tongue, and the South Tongue. These three districts contribute about 45% of the entire destructions. And so as it's now, we are concentrating on those alone for now. Meanwhile, we are on the field also, as I speak now, my staff are on the field, collecting further numbers at the other districts, including the Karachi West. So we are on the field now. And the amount my chief director stated, the 200 million cedis, I think one of the members asked how many buildings can that put up. For the 3 districts, we are looking at 261 million Ghana cedis for the 3 districts. So how it stands now, we are asking that there should be some additional fund so that we can finish the 3 within a year. And the options were saying, we are saying that if we can do this within 2 years, then we need 200 million this year in addition to make it 400. Then next year, we added 200 million to 600, so that within 2 years, we are done with the resettlement. As to the houses, numbers of the houses, North Town, we are looking at 1,218 housings to be resettled at North Town. South Town, we are looking at 650. Then Central Town, 935 houses. South Town, we are looking at 650 housing units. Then Central, 935. So these 3 is what we are starting immediately as it stands now. The rest will be the phase 2, maybe to enter next year. So that's what we are doing at the moment. Because we have the numbers for this, and LUSPA has gone to do the land mapping, local plans, so they're on the field now engaging the community to buying their inputs. Okay, but the others that I'm saying will continue the following year, they are in all these 19 districts. And this is Oti region, Eastern region, Volta region. And in the Greater Accra region, we have Adan East. And then we have Shas Osudoku, Adan East. Initial numbers we had is 330 at Adan East. Shai Osudoku, initial one we had 61 housing units. Then we come to Esojaman, we have, which is in the Eastern region, 64. Then now we move to Volta region. We have a K2 SAT. Initially we had 59. We are doing verification of the field at distance now to make sure that is the true picture of what happened the last. Then we come to Keta, we have 400. North Dai, we have 10. Pando, we have 298. Sat Dai, we have 58. At Oti region, Biakuye, we have 335. Krachi in Chumuru, we have 198. That's houses destroyed that we need to resettle. Krachi West, we have 673. Krachi East, sorry. Then Krachi West, 165. In Kwanta North, we have 20.
Those were some excerpts from the committee's hearing today. Now, Member of Parliament for South Tong, Kobla Mensah Woyomi, revealed more than 8,000 people and 1,500 households were displaced in his constituency. Take a listen to what he said.
We thought it was going to be a kind of minimal spillage because that wasn't the first. Because we've witnessed some spillage in the past that was not to that magnitude. So we were able to at least contain, even though it affected the drinking water. Of course, a lot of communities relied on the river for drink. And then of course, any time the turbidity of the water got high, the treatment plants did not function. They refused to work. The Agoloma treatment plants, they would say it was costing them so much to treat the diluted water, and so they would not function. So then it affected water supply in the area. So anytime there was that spillage, those were some of the problems we normally encounter, but we were able to, overcome them. But in fact, what happened this time around was such that the spillage went beyond our imagination and started getting into places that we never thought would be flooded, and the communities were many. We had close to about 37 communities flooded. 37 got flooded, and the worst affected was Alikakope, for instance. That was close to the estuary between Adan and already VRA had stopped their usual dredging work they do. In fact, there's a dredging work that they ought to be undertaking, I think, annually, if I'm not mistaken. I would say, in fact, we had a total of 7,000 to 8,000 people displaced, and about households, we're counting about 1,000, that's families, units, about 1,500 thereabouts also, were displaced because that would be evacuated from their homes. And then those are the displaced people. In fact, it also affected fish farmers. Fish farmers, we have a number of fish farmers that have their businesses dotted along the river.
You just heard Kobla Mensawoyomi there. He's actually joining me over the phone lines now. Thank you very much, sir, for your time this evening. So you appeared before the committee today. Walk us through exactly what transpired.
Yeah, good evening, and good evening to your listeners. Yes, I did appear before the committee this morning, and the questions that were asked, is that what you asked?
Exactly. What exactly transpired with regards to the Akosombo Dam spillage and the victims that were affected?
I think the members of the committee wanted to know the situation in the district before and during and after the spillage. And so I took time to explain that obviously situations were normal before the unfortunate incident. And with regards to informing the people adequately and giving the people time to enable them move away from floodable areas, I think that was absent. And also key stakeholders such as myself and my other colleagues, members of parliament, were not involved in the process of getting adequate information from the VRA and the others who are involved in carrying out the spillage to the people that are likely to be affected. And so that we think it's wrong. And when it did happen, we thought the magnitude, maybe they underestimated it or they didn't do the due diligence or whatever. We saw something that we have never seen in several years, because we do remember that our parents informed us that similar flood occurred in the 60s after the construction of the dam. And so probably that was when it did have. But then we have not witnessed any major one, such as what we saw during the space. And it was so devastating. I mean, I took time to explain a key infrastructure that were affected, including a whole hospital had to close down. The Gridco plant, station also had to be shut down. Schools had to be evacuated of the students. In fact, they had to stop normal school learning. And then as well as those hospitality businesses that are close to the river or that are dotted along the river bank also had their fair share of the devastation.
Right. We will get into the details of all of that shortly. But you, in your submission, you said that over 8,000 persons in your constituency and 1,500 households were displaced. What is their current status at the moment?
Okay, I will say that now that situation is very normalized, except for those who have no home to come back to because of the demolition that was experienced due to the weaknesses of the foundations, because they have stayed in the water for that long. So homes were demolished because of that. And so they are still patching. Such people are still patching with their friends and relatives. And some have actually moved out of the district to be with their...
Sir, how many homes exactly were demolished?
wish I have because we submitted the statistics, because there's a plan to put up about 600 units. So we are sure it's in connection with about 600 plus.
I see. Now, when you say that the VRA didn't give you inadequate information to convey to the people ahead of the spillage, we are aware that there's going to be another spillage likely pretty soon. What is the information really like?
This time around, I think there was one meeting that was called, and at that meeting I was invited, and so I'm sure they've reviewed their way of doing things now, and they've discussed possible areas that are likely to be flooded. This time around, they indicated that it might not be that massive as what we experienced the previous time, and you were saying it might not even happen, but it's when they get to know that. I'm sure when they look at their data and then looking at this various scientific, the data scientifically, they might be able to say that, it might not happen. So they really themselves are not very sure. That was at the time we held the meeting with that. So that is what we are in now. So we but then I'm happy because having been informed, we've gotten the information across to those who must know.
Okay, but your victims haven't been compensated. It's been over a year now. How does that make you feel?
That is very sad, because even the funds that were budgeted, I'm sure you all heard about it, that government was budgeting 220 million Ghana cedis. And later, in the course of the financial year, we got information that about 80 million Ghana cedis out of that had been released. My sister, as I speak to you now, we don't know whether that money has been released, how they are spending it, and who is benefiting. And in fact, if you look at the description given this 220 million Ghana cedis was relief stage. So we'll say that the government is here to release the relief fund for those who were affected, and so we do not know. Maybe it's still in the pipeline.
Right, I see. And actually, you've clearly indicated this situation is not a very pleasant one. But before the report is submitted to the plenary, what is that one thing you are looking for in that report?
I'm sure there will be a full collation of data of the destruction that the spillage caused, people who have been displaced. So there should be enough assurance in that report from government to indicate when the resettlement of those who still are touching with friends and have had to live maybe where they currently are. And also there should be adequate, compensation to those whose fishing gear, and also those who are into fish farming who lost heavily, and how they can be compensated quickly so they can go back into business. And also those whose crops were submerged and had to abandon their farms after taking money and loans from rural banks, friends and relatives to go into farming. What happened? I'm sure we want to see a comprehensive support being given to all these people. And so it's going to be something we are looking out for, so that at the end of the day, and it shouldn't be, there should be timelines to when these things are going to be given to the people, so that it doesn't become investigation and the reports read on the floor, debated, and maybe the appropriate sector ministers or ministries giving whatever, and that ends it. In fact, that is my fear. I pray that if 220 million for relief stage has still not been seen, I don't know when all what we are talking about will happen.
Right. Now, finally, before I let you go, I mean, a year down the line, how are your constituents coping? How are they faring? Picking up the pieces and trying to build up their lives. Have they moved on? What is the exact
Yeah, we
picture?
are helping some of them to move on, my sister. We are helping some of them to move on. I mean, helping them get some small money, go back and plow, help them with maybe, whatever we can do. At least, I mean, we just are doing our best. And let me congratulate the good people of Southtown. They really demonstrated that, that beautiful spirit of love among themselves. People who opened their doors and homes for friends and relatives and brothers who were found in the situation you just described, to be with them, cohabit with them until when situations get normal. And there hasn't been any problem whatsoever from any family or whatever. We only meet them and give them whatever we have received by way of relief, and from time to time, and also encouraging them, to be able to pull through. So I would say that they've done very well. The churches, the pastors, family heads, chiefs, elders, opinion leaders, in fact, kudos to everybody, family members who have all been very, very helpful in this moment.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. We appreciate your
My
time.
pleasure, my dear sister.
Kobla Mensah-Woyome is the Member of Parliament for South Tongue constituency. Now let's still focus on this development. And the Minister for Interior and MP for Ayawaso Central, Henry Quartey, has charged the Volta River Authority to increase sensitization and provide early warning signals ahead of such future spillages.
The Interior Ministry has had discussions with them to now provide the early warning signals, and for that matter also use their corporate social responsibilities to relocate some of the people permanently. For instance, I have asked them, so if this area in question, like Parliament, is declared as a no-go area, out of the corporate social responsibility, they should be able to resettle people and then turn that area into an ecosystem place, so that going forward, residents, chiefs, and everybody knows that this area is a no-go area. Of course, you don't take it from them by force, but is there a way that they can build a community clinic for them? Because I don't know whether the presentations has been done explicitly enough. But if same has not been done, then I request respectfully that you get the VRA to do the presentation for you to appreciate what is on the ground. And when you see the presentation, perhaps you'll be informed about the position I'm coming from. For instance, there are a few buildings in an area that is close to the sea. Is it the case that VRA and other stakeholders can relocate these 2-3 houses and say, look, the whole of this area is about some 50 acres, 100 acres, nobody built there. So the assemblies involved will have to ensure, as part of spatial planning, that this area is not going to be habitable again. Of course, if it is for farming, then it has to be managed or supervised by the assembly, by RCC, by VRA and other stakeholders, so that in the event that they have to spill, it doesn't affect people. So these are some of the interventions that the ministry has asked VRA to go and do a paper on and bring it. Now, NADMO will tell you quite a lot of interventions has been done. I know that they are currently left with about some 300 people to relocate. I don't know whether they've told you that. Well, with the buildings that they are building, they are really for resettlement. There's an area that they have to move some 300 people. And per what I know, as at the end of this month or going into next month, some buildings will have to be ready so that they can move these people in temporary shelters into it.
Henry Quartey is the Member of Parliament for Ayawaso Central and a Minister for Interior there. Let's stay a while longer on this development and speak to the member of the Ad Hoc Committee and MP for Ho West, Emmanuel Kwesi Bedra, for more on this development. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Hello, Mr. Bedra. Well, we'll get to that conversation shortly, but also still on this development, the Member of Parliament for North Tongue, Samuel Okujetua Blakwa, has also dismissed reports that they were adequately informed ahead of the spillage. Take a listen to him.
we have sadly been the epicenter. We have bore the brunt of this man-made disaster, the spillage from the Akosombo and Pond dams. We were hit by surprise.
The Interior Ministry has had discussions with
placed on record that the Volta River
We will play that full bite subsequently, but let's go over the phone lines and have a conversation with the Member of Parliament for Whole West, Emmanuel Kwesi Bedra. Sir, thank you very much for your time. So you sat in the committee today, listening to the various parties tell you what really transpired. As a member of the committee, what information did you gather?
Well, Tutuwaa, good evening, and
as member of
good evening to your cherished listener as well. We met today. We had a public engagement with the stakeholders. As you are aware, we engaged both VRA, the Ministry of Works and Housing, the Hydrological Department, the Water Resources Commission. These are the four institutions that appear before us. Then we also had the various communities, that's the Starr district, who are appearing now. We also had the North Tongue, the South Tongue, the Central Tongue. We're supposed to have engaged the Anglon and Keta constituencies, Adan constituencies, but they were not able to appear before us. So far, we've had four district assemblies that have appeared before us. The last one that we are engaging now, the Shao Sudoku district assembly. We want to find out what exactly happened. Even though we visited some of the sites, we saw what happened ourselves, but we still want to hear from those who were affected, the chiefs, the community leaders, the assembly members, and then the DC and the MP. What we want to find out from them is what really happened, how were they affected, the cause of the cause that we know the spillage might have cost them, and then what efforts government put in place, especially to reconstruct and resettle those who were affected, and also the relief items that came, whether it was distributed to the people and whether the people are still in the affected areas or they've moved back to their various homes. So these were the interrogations that we had. We also would like to find out from the VRA and other government institutions as to what they will do next when issues of this nature happens again, and also what can we do as a nation to prevent this disaster, which we all think was a man-made, even though it was a disaster, so that it will not affect the livelihood and people that were in that catchment area.
Right. Now, let's talk about the response from the Chief Director of the Ministry of Works and Housing, who says that the project's cost for the resettlement is priced at 600 million Ghana cedis. How did you receive that information?
Well, I work in that industry, and so what came to mind was to find out what exactly they are looking at, the designs that they have, type of materials that will be used, and what kind of construction method that would they be using, and whether both what we call the on-site cost and off-site cost infrastructure, which is the road, network, the water, and other facilities, the electricity will also be costed together. Well, from every indication, it is just the building. And so we needed the Minister of Roads and Highways to bring road, right, and also do the internal road networks. We needed Minister of Energy to bring electricity to the site for the people to enjoy. We also needed Minister of Water Resources to bring water. That's Ghana Water Company or Community Water Company to bring water to the site for the people before the place can be inhabited. Having said that, the cost of the construction, we're told that it will be finished with the actual designs and the cost. They are using the PR3 designs, which will be given to us in the course of the week.
Right. So are there really timelines for this resettlement plan? Because as we are well aware, some of the people are still very much displaced, some are patching with their friends and whatnot. The situation doesn't look too good. Are there timelines for this resettlement plan?
Tutuwaa, our mandate is to find out what has happened and how we can avert it, or what can we do next as a nation. And so talking to them, there are no timelines at all. I am not too happy the way government is handling these issues at all. By now, some housing units should have been put up. Some units should have been constructed by the Minister of Western Housing, even though we're told that the Common Fund Administrator or Common Fund Administration has started some project. It has not been completed at all. I mean, after one whole year, people have not been resettling in their homes or safe havens. I mean, where do you expect them to live? Kukwa, you'll be surprised that when we visited one of the sites, VRA has put up a house, an accommodation, which is an open rooms without any partitioning. And the women say they are not going to go there because they cannot be there with their husbands and other families all living in a common room without any separation. And so the husbands are all left them. And the women were all in the camp and look, this is what has happened to us. This village has come to a point where our husbands have left us and we don't even know what is going on. So it's bringing a social issue as well. And so government should speed up. If Western House indeed 200 million has been released to them to start this project, they should speed up with the work and make sure that they've completed it on time. That is one part of it. The second part has to do with compensation. People have lost their work, people have lost their homes, they've lost their livelihood. Nobody is giving them compensation. The only thing we heard was that an organization has given them some stipend, and that was not from government, but an organization that was giving them some stipend to be living on. One whole year after this disaster, you'll notice that people are fatigued of bringing food items to them, relief items to them. And so those relief items are not forthcoming. They've lost their farmlands, and how would they be feeding? Who is taking care of them? Unfortunately, you go to some of the settlement homes, the ECG has disconnected the electricity, the power to the various homes. Water is not flowing to the homes. How do you expect people who are not working, who through no fault of theirs have been displaced, and they don't have water, they don't have electricity, and how do you expect them to live? Inhuman activities that are being carried out by this our state institution, which needs to be checked. And so we really have to come to the aid of those people, especially those who have not gone back to their various homes.
Right. Now, the Water Authority was present at a hearing today, and they sought to give some responses. What will be your assessment of the responses they gave? Were they positive?
VRA has not given a response yet. We engaged them earlier. We asked them to come and listen to what the people are saying. One of the things that I think the community, the entire community that was running through, has to do with the simulation exercise. Some people were saying they were not engaged at all. They were not informed, especially the Mefe area, which was a hard to hit, Samuel Kujitos area. They were not informed about the simulation exercise. They did not even know that the water will go as far as to where it has gone to. These were not, made clear to the inhabitants. And all of a sudden, their house were all, gone. And so clearly, GRA has some case to answer as to why this exercise that was carried, people were not informed, and so they have a lot of answers to give to the nation and to us.
Right. Now, finally, before I let you go, you have said that the government has released 200 million Ghana cedis for the resettlement plan. Do we have the assurance that the remaining 400 million Ghana cedis will be released before even the year ends?
Well, that was what the chief director of Minister of Western has told us, that so far only 200 million has been released. And even that was released recently. So the project itself, that is the construction work itself, has not commenced. Clearly, it shows that if you are not careful, it will not even be completed. We have only 4 months to the end of this year. And I can tell you that budget cycle for the 2024 to 2025 year has almost come to an end. And so only God knows whether the rest 400 million will be released to the ministry to finish their work. With the 200, only God knows when they will also start. We pushed them to the wall. We're told that they are now doing acquisition of land, and which is taking some time because they needed to work with the district assembly and the traditional authorities to get a land and a safe haven that they can start putting their facilities. And so we are waiting and we'll follow up through with that.
Right. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Emmanuel Kwesi Bejwa is a member of parliament for Ho West. Let's go back to our earlier sound where the member of parliament for North Tongue, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, has also dismissed reports that they were adequately informed ahead of the spillage. Take a listen to him.
We have sadly been the epicenter. We have bore the brunt of this man-made disaster, the spillage from the Akosombo and Pond dams. We were hit by surprise. As Member of Parliament, I want to place on record that the Volta River Authority did not notify me as a key stakeholder that they were going to spill, particularly from the Akosombo Dam. I have heard elsewhere that they held a number of stakeholder engagements. I do not know if that stakeholder engagement was exhaustive or if it actually happened. But I can speak for myself as Member of Parliament that I was not part of any meeting. I did not receive any invitation. And so the impression that has been created in some quarters that the people were adequately warned and asked to evacuate and they refused to. And so we brought this upon ourselves. I want to state for the record that that cannot be true. We were not informed. As MP, I was not notified of this spillage. Number two, I want to state for the record that there was no effort to evacuate people in the affected communities. What I know by way of best practice is that when there is going to be a disaster, even with natural disasters, where meteorologists have forecasted, authorities take conscious effort to evacuate people out of harm's way. We see it in the news always, every day. They'll put out public announcements, carry out public education, and consciously, because sometimes some people may not have heard, or some people may be vulnerable. Maybe they're aged, they are probably persons living with disability. They are assisted to out of harm's way to a safer location. That did not happen. In this case, there was no effort at evacuating the people. I can confirm to you that all the immediate evacuation, and that's in the immediate aftermath of the spillage on the 15th of September, all the way to when people had to be relocated to so-called safe havens. I always call them so-called safe havens because they are not really safe havens. It had to take community effort. So you see that assembly members, youth associations, all of us, we were on the ground helping. I joined them. We had to talk to transport operators, make funds available to assist people. And throughout the night, it was young people. So I have really singled out the communal spirit of those who are able-bodied, the young people, those who volunteered. That is what saved the day. And VRA will have to answer questions about that, right from the failure to notify us all the way to why they refuse to carry out evacuations so that you move people to safer ground. Why they refuse to do that, up to now, I do not understand. Because you don't take it for granted. It is a miracle that people didn't die. It is a miracle.
That was the Member of Parliament for North Tongue, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible. today. First, fast, and credible.
So, what you just heard, tensions flared up in the Upper Manya Kroba today as supporters of the National Democratic Congress (NDC) stormed a hotel owned by Joseph Tete, the New Patriotic Party's parliamentary candidate, over the controversial use of equipment from the district's road improvement program known as DRIP. Now, the dispute arose when a fleet of heavy machinery, including motor graders, bulldozers, were found parked at Tete's hotel instead of the district's assembly premises. The equipment, part of the recently launched DRIP initiative, was decorated with posters of Tete and paraphernalia of the NPP and their flag bearer, Dr. Mahamudu Baumia, in an attempt to showcase across the constituency, sparking accusations of political point scoring. Now, outraged by what they saw as the politicization of government resources, NDC supporters mobilized and marched to the hotel in an attempt to remove the posters. Let's now go over the phone lines and speak to Dominic Ankra, the Research and Elections Relations Officer of the New Patriotic Party in the Manya Krobo area. Thank you very much, sir, for your time this evening. Now, we hear their equipment were parked in a hotel owned by the NPP's parliamentary candidate. Why is that? Well, unfortunately, our phone lines are not too stable this evening, but we'll bring you that conversation subsequently. Let's still focus on this development and in the Ashanti region, because the regional minister, Simon Osei Mensah, has cautioned against the misuse of the equipment for private purposes. He spoke at the launch and distribution of the equipment in that region.
These equipment, some of them could be used for illegal mining activities and other illegal activities. It's not meant for illegal activities. So the intended purpose, which is for road construction, to improve upon the road network in the country, that is what we have to use the equipment. I will appeal and plead with all my MMDCs that we have to take good care of the equipment. The equipment will be beneficial to the people if we use them for the intended purposes, because if you go and put the equipment idle or you start using for private activities and the road network is bad, the people will not benefit.
Well, that was Simon Osei Mensah there at the launch of the drip distribution in the Ashanti region.
Starr today. First, fast, and credible.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Cool 103.5 FM in Ho, Ridge and Might FM in Tamale, Somali FM in Wa, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM.
Thank you very much for staying. You're still listening to Starr today here on Starr FM. Now, residents, let's go back to our earlier reports where residents of Chereponi and Saboba in the northern and northeast regions are lamenting over 3 months disconnected power supply in the communities. In a statement signed by the corporate communications manager of the Northern Electricity Distribution Company Limited, Maxwell Kotoka, it attributes the challenge to a complexity of system faults. The residents there urged government to fix the menace or face their wrath. Let's go over the phone lines now and speak with the Assembly member for Kudani electoral area, Kwesi Naja David. Thank you very much, Kwesi, for your time. Now, what really has been happening with regards to power supply in the areas?
Yeah, good evening to your viewers. Please, for the past 4 months, we have been having power outages, and then for the last 2 weeks, the light has gone off completely. So the residents of Chereponi are currently experiencing power outage for over 2 weeks now.
Right. So, what exactly are your concerns with this development?
Well, our concern as assembly members are that most often when we have, as we started the NETCO boards, the surrounding villages, they normally drop their lines out. So if you ask what the problem really is, because we, the assembly members, we created a common platform, then we included the VRA board station at Chirpone. So mostly, if you find out happenings from him, he will never mind you. Sometimes you call him, he won't even pick your calls. So for the past 4 months, months, we don't know what actually happened. But within these 3 weeks, we went on demonstration, and then he told us that the posts are having problems. So they are trying to replace the post from Sabawa to Chirupone with metal posts.
Right. I mean, just for purposes of clarity, how long have you been in darkness?
As I said earlier on, we're having power fluctuation within for over 4 months now. But since the light totally went off, it's over 2 weeks now.
Over 2 weeks, 2 consecutive weeks of being in darkness.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's understand the situation on the ground. How are the businesses in there coping?
Oh, madam, that one there, we can't even talk about it because seriously, businesses are going down, and most especially those operating with pure waters and cool. Now we have to import pure water from Yendi to Chiripone. Then also the hospital currently, as we speak, the generator that they are using, they even lack fuel to use the generator. So as at now, life in Chiripone is not easy.
So businesses have come to a standstill, and then you have to rely on a generator, if I understand you.
Yes, please.
Right. You say that reaching the VRA has been problematic. Have you tried reaching the NECO? What have they been telling you?
Well, for the past 1 week, we reached out to them and they said contractor is coming on site today. But as we speak, whether or not the contractor is at site or not, we don't have any fair knowledge about that. But they told us that by today, contractor will report to the site.
I see. Now, you have embarked on a first demonstration, which you had to stop because you were going to receive some positive responses. If you do not get your lights fixed as soon as you want them to be fixed, what is going to be your next line of action? Are you hitting the streets again?
Well, our next plan of action is to hit the street again. And most especially, it's like the VRW was station at our place does not have the people of Chiripone at heart because as an assembly member, we created a common platform that at least if there is a problem, you should let us know because our people have been asking us what is happening to the light, and we too, we don't have any knowledge about it. So at least if there are happenings, you could either post it on the platform. Sometimes he will not even post, and you ask on the platform, he won't mind. You call him, he won't pick your call. So for now, the VRA boss station at Chiripone is now our problem because we don't really know what actually is the problem. Within the past 1 week, that the Northern Regional VRA Authority, they released a letter saying that the poles are having problems from Saboba to Chiripone. So therefore, they are going to drop Chiripone line. So for that one, we are aware of. But the board himself has never told us anything concerning the light.
Right, but are you giving the authorities any timeline?
Well, as we speak, we will give them from today, Monday, because they said the contractor will report to site. We are hoping that maybe from today to Friday, we should hear or we should get positive feedback. If not, we are going to hit back the street again. And for that one, there is going to be heavy because the first one, let me use the word, it was warning. But for the next one, we are not going to joke because lives are suffering at Chiripone, not easy.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. Kwesi Naja David is the assembly member for the Kudani electoral area. He's been telling me that their lights started misbehaving, or they started experiencing power fluctuations about 4 months ago. And for 2 consecutive weeks, they have been in absolute darkness. They've had to rely on generator sets to operate their businesses, which comes at a cost. And what he says is quite worrying is the fact that there hasn't been any communication from the authorities. I mean, efforts to reach the relevant authorities have proven futile. They have no explanation as to why they're facing this power issues. And NETCO isn't responsive neither. It's the Water River Authority being responsible. But let's actually go over the phone lines now and engage NETCO, because we learn that they are actually on site at the moment. Let's go over the phone lines now and speak to the Corporate Limited Relations Officer for NETCO, Maxwell Kutuka. He's a corporate communications manager. I beg your pardon. Thank you very much, Mr. Kutuka. Now, residents in Tripoli, Saboba in the northern region are lamenting over 3 months of disconnected power supply. How true is this?
Sorry, over how long? I didn't hear that. How long, please?
Over 3 months. In fact, according to the assembly member for the Kudani electoral area, he says that power fluctuations started about 4 months ago, and for the past 2 consecutive weeks, they have been without power.
Very well, very well. Well, good evening to you. Good evening to your audience in general, viewership and listenership together. Before we proceed, we just want to, on behalf of the management of NETCO, express our sincerest apologies to the general public, especially the affected customers, the Cheponi and Saboba area. Having said that, to directly respond to the question, yes, we have had some significant challenges with distribution in those areas. We have engaged to explain the difficulties, which are not by any stretch of imagination in a deliberate attempt on our part to keep them in the dark. Truth is that we try to do some general improvement of the infrastructure about 2-3 months ago. And that was a proactive step we took just to inject some greater stability in the supply to them. So in the process, we commissioned a contractor to replace some of their poles, which were frequently breaking. And each time we suffered a broken pole or a broken set of poles, it occasioned long periods of outages for them, which we were not comfortable with as a service provider. So proactively, we engaged the contractor to do some injection, some replacement of poles and stuff. A few weeks after the commencement of the project, we noticed some worrying trends of outages on the line. And so we observed for a while. It got to a head. We suspended the project. This is how serious we take the matter. So we suspended the project and decided to do some troubleshooting to see exactly what the cause of the rampant outages was.
Right, but their major concern is with the fact that they haven't received any explanation whatsoever. According to the assembly member for the Kudani area, he says that efforts to reach either NETCO or VRE has always been difficult. Why is that? Why haven't you given them any explanation?
Well, Tutuwaa, like I said, we have engaged at various levels. The operational area that serves them has engaged the assembly. They have engaged the the DCE, and we have reports that they have engaged other stakeholders. Be that as it may, we think that at this point, it will be counterproductive to be arguing about we told A, we didn't tell B, A was informed, B was informed. As we speak now, the way forward is that the contractor has been recalled. We have mobilized multiple teams. They started work this morning, but for the rain, they would probably have been working by now. So the work came to a halt at 2 p.m. today. As we speak, I speak with you now, we are on our way to Shreveport.
Okay, so
we intend to. Hello, Tutuwaa.
I beg your pardon. Carry on.
Yeah. So we intend to, on reaching teaching ceremony to carry the key stakeholders, those who have been engaged already, those who may not have been engaged yet. We'll carry everybody along. We'll go to site to see what work is going on, what the cost is, and what the likely outcomes after the remedial work proceeds. So we'll carry everybody along.
Right. So, how soon are the people of Chereponi going to experience power, actually?
That's a very difficult question to answer because, as I indicated, we just started the remedial work today. And it's been a long stretch of replacement. So we would have to go through everything and do some further troubleshooting before we can confirm that the work just began today. When we get there and we move them to site, I'm sure they will all appreciate, and we will work alongside each other through the process. And I'm sure that before we tell you that there will be restoration of normalcy, they would have even seen that.
Right. So you can't say at this point in time if power is going to be restored in the next week, 2 weeks, or even a month. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily. What I'm saying is that the work just began today. So we will carry them along and we will walk the steps, we will walk the journey step by step. If you push me now and I tell you, oh, there will be restoration by Wednesday, and for some reason we don't get it done, then you begin to look for another description for me, which I don't think we want to get it. Let's walk the journey together.
Right. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Maxwell Tutuwaa is a corporate communication manager of the Northern Electricity Distribution Company Limited, NETCO there. Now, he's also saying that he's not too sure when power is going to be restored to the areas affected by the disruptions there. You're still listening to Starr Today.
Starr Today. First, fast, and credible.
Let's do health now. And the former chief executive officer of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Daniel Asari, is advocating for a robust partnership between the government, the Ministry of Health, and the private sector to ensure the maintenance and longevity of medical equipment in public facilities. Dr. Asari, who also serves as the board chair of the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, HEFRA, emphasized the need for government collaboration with the private sector in equipping the Agenda 111 facilities to guarantee value for money. While speaking at the 3rd Ghana Medical Diagnostic Excellence Awards, he raised concerns about why equipment in private facilities tends to outlast those in public ones, leading to significant costs for the state. Araba Edu has the details.
Former Chief Executive Officer of Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Daniel Asari, highlighted the significant waste of government funds on replacing broken equipment in public facilities, an issue he believes could be avoided. Dr. Asari emphasized that to ensure the successful implementation of Agenda 111, the government must collaborate with the private sector to equip the facilities once they are completed, ensuring value for money.
Proper collaborative partnership between government, public sector and private sector and the Ministry of Health will go a long way to ensure equipment long span, maintenance, and then value for money. Currently, we have almost about 5 radiology and imaging companies here who have gotten various awards, and their downtime, that their equipment breakdown is almost like zero. Whereas the public sector, the breakdown is almost like 80 to 90%. Why should government use public money, buy equipment, and place them in government sector? Revenue is generated in the public sector, but that revenue cannot be used to maintain that distance. It breaks down, the government has to find money to go and buy it. Whereas the private sector is able to do same with the little that is given, they have their own money, and then get money out of it, get profit, and maintain.
In a speech delivered on behalf of the Minister of Health, Dr. Bernard Okoboy acknowledged the challenges related to the sustainability of medical equipment in public facilities. He assured that the ministry is making strides to ensure that health facilities and patients have access to reliable medical diagnostic laboratory services and quality imaging services.
Sustainability of this investment over the years has suffered some challenges. Despite these challenges, the ministry is making strides to ensure that health facilities and patients have access to good medical diagnostics laboratory services, as well as good medical diagnostic imaging services. Our current situation, the medical laboratory seems to have made significant progress, and all our hospitals have some level of laboratory services.
The Ghana Medical Diagnostics Excellence Award aims to recognize and celebrate outstanding contributions to the field of diagnostics. 24 facilities were awarded, with Rich Medical Center receiving the Best Customer Service of the Year award.
The challenges are numerous. One of them is getting the right logistics. Sometimes it's difficult to get the right logistics, however we're able to pull through. Sometimes the patient needs, you have to be able to tailor your service so that the patient is very satisfied at the end of the day. However, it's a challenge that we always face, and we know that we are working more towards it. And at the end of the day, it's the satisfaction of the customer that is our priority. At Reid Medical Center, we say your health is our reason, and our approach at Reid Medical Center is to make sure that the customers are first place. And whatever we do, we think of what the customer needs and how to make sure the customer gets the right treatment at our centers.
The 2024 awards were designed to honor individuals, organizations, and innovations that have made a significant impact on the field of diagnostics, promoting excellence and innovation in healthcare and diagnostics.
That was my colleague Evelyn Arba Edu there with that report.
Starr Today, first, fast, and credible.
You are still listening to Starr Today, and this is your election hub. Now, with 103 days to elections, the campaign season is heated up. The Vice President and flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, today has been combing some constituencies in the Greater Accra region. Now, former President John Dramani Mahama will also begin his Greater Accra tour tomorrow, visiting 7 constituencies for the next 2 days. But today on the campaign trail, we look at their promises for the first 100 days of their governance. Should they win election 2024? This is your campaign trail. Thank you very much for choosing us. Now, with both parties leading in the upcoming December polls having released their manifesto, the issue of tax reforms and scrapping has made the fort again. The presidential candidates for the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, last Saturday at the party's manifesto launched, has pledged to abolish what he describes as draconian taxes within his first 120 days in office if elected in the upcoming 2024 general election. Here is John Mahama last Saturday, who says these measures are aimed at alleviating economic hardships and reducing the high cost of doing businesses in Ghana.
It's the humility of the leadership.
Hajj fares have become extremely high. It is one of the objectives of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the NDC.
A vote for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is a vote for women. Let us support him to amplify the marginalized voices in our society.
We have one leader who is a nation builder, and another leader is demolishing.
Our economy has collapsed to the extent that we now have introduced new fanciful terms such as hair tax and domestic debt exchange into our economic management lexicon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 24-hour economic clock. One job, 3 shifts, 3 people. 1, 3, 3.
Yɛpɛ bank ɔte hɛn ase. Yɛmpɛ bank ɔbɛka dɛ yɛnkafa collateral mbra yɛnyi bi.
The people of Ghana will wake up from this nightmare and envision a bright new dawn of opportunities for all its people and not just a few. We established the Ghana Medical Care Trust, into brackets, somebody calls it Mahama Cares, to support persons with chronic diseases such as kidney failure, cancer, sickle cell, diabetes, hypertension, and other health-related diseases. We'll introduce an Money Your Pension scheme so that persons in the informal sector who want to put something aside for their pension and their retirement, they will keep paying it so that when it gets to their turn for retirement, they have some money that they can rely on. My dear Okada riders, they will also be part of the pension scheme. I have the honor and privilege to launch the 2024 Resetting Ghana for Jobs, Accountability and Prosperity Manifesto today. I consider it duly launched.
Well, we actually just brought you a wrap of key moments from the NDC's manifesto last Saturday. But let's hear from the former president's comments on the draconian taxes which take the spotlight on campaign trail tonight.
We'll scrap the following draconian taxes to alleviate hardship and ease the high cost of doing business in our first 90 days in office. 1. E-levy. 2. COVID levy. 3. Betting tax. 4. Emissions levy. And we'll review taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported into the country for industrial and agricultural purposes.
Former President John Dramani Mahama there. But his counterpart, the Vice President, has also been listing some measures to expect within his first 100 days and also insist a controversial levy will go. Here is Dr. Bawumia at a media engagement yesterday.
I'm definitely not taking a honeymoon. We are going to get straight to work to put things in place. I think that for me, the focus is on jobs. And so you have to put in the budget as quickly as possible so that you can make sure that the tax amnesty regime comes into place, the flat tax regime comes into place, so that by the time of your first budget in March, these things, the Ghana First, Buy Ghana First policy, that we put in and pass the law so that we can get the Ghana First policy. The e-levy will go because we have to focus on digitalization of the economy, and so we need to take out the e-levy as well. So these are some of the things that I believe that we can do very, very, very quickly as we come in.
Well, you've listened to both presidents. Now let's have a conversation and engage Gideon Ayeowu, a partner, tax and regulatory services at Deloitte Ghana, on how realistic these promises on tax cuts are. Thank you very much for your time this evening, Gideon. Now, from a fiscal standpoint, how feasible is it to eliminate these taxes without significantly impacting government revenue?
Okay, thank you very much, and good evening to yourself and to your listeners. For all people in Ghana, any such new taxes is all welcomed. It's good news to any taxpayer. And if you look at the recent sentiment shared by most businesses, they're looking for reductions. But promise of using the current tax rates and tax takes for government would have one major hurdle or obstacle to overcome. And what do I mean by it? It's your listeners would all be aware Ghana is currently under a 6-month extended credit facility arrangement with the IMF. And under this ECF arrangement, the government of Ghana has made certain commitments in terms of how much revenue it's going to make and then how much expenditure it's going to incur. And so if you look at it, all these taxes that have been mentioned in terms of the COVID levy, e-levy, betting tax, and so on and so forth, these are all revenue or income streams to government. So whenever there is any promise that there is going to be a slash or reduction of any of this, then essentially what government is saying is that their income is going to reduce. So once these promises are made, it means that something has got to give somewhere. then it means that the commitment that was made under this ECF arrangement may not be met. Or if it's going to be met, the government has to look for other income streams to fill in the place of this that they are going to slash. That is it basically. Only somebody said that, well, if they are going to slash these taxes, then it's possible that they are expecting to increase. For example, possibly they would expect that the businesses will do better, and then there could be increases in corporate income taxes. So at the first instance, I think what is not clear is that what other income streams are going to replace this tax reductions or abolishment of taxes that government is going to make.
Gideon, I was actually coming to that because I'm interested to find out that if these taxes are removed, what are the alternative tax policies or reforms that can be recommended to ensure that government still meets its revenue needs without burdening businesses and consumers?
Well, that's a big question, and if you look at all the budgets that have been read since 2020, and you do a simple control F or search through all this, you see one statement which 2020 to a bit, and that's it is expansion of tax base, and it is always from the budget. If you even look in this year's 2020-24 budget, you'll see a similar statement that all previous governments over the years have always made it a play that they're going to expand the tax base. And unfortunately, that has not come to be. One of the major areas which I think last year, if you check the budget announcement, it was that government is going to look at property taxes. And unfortunately, due to various reasons, we still do not have the property taxes being applied. So that could be potentially one of the areas that could be brought in to plug the hole. And another area or another place that we could look at, and then you could see this in Baumia's announcement that there will be tax amnesty. So the evidence, or if you look at the reason for tax amnesty, one of it is supposed to be that once you provide tax amnesty, it brings in more taxpayers into the tax net. Unfortunately, we haven't really seen a significant of taxes.
Gideon, kindly make that point again because your line wasn't stable. You say that if there is tax amnesty, what exactly would happen to the country?
The expectation is that when you provide tax amnesty, it brings in more taxpayers into the tax net. But what I'm saying is that this does not seem to hold true in Ghana because we've had various tax amnesties in the past 10 years. And if you look at the experience or at the evidence, we really end up increasing our tax base. Because if that was so, we will still not be having this issue of increasing our tax base, and then our tax to GDP ratio, which measures how much tax you collect from the size of the GDP, does not seem to be increasing. So the tax amnesty as a basis for us to plug in some of this revenue leakages or this revenue reduction the government is expecting from slashing some of this, in quotes, nuisance taxes may not materialize.
Right. Now, Gideon, on a much broader perspective, how might the removal of these taxes affect investor confidence in Ghana's economy? I mean, could it potentially make the country more attractive to foreign investors or otherwise?
It's two sides. Could say both ends can cut in this case. So it should have, as I mentioned earlier, the sentiment shared by business owners is that the country is too much laden with taxes, and therefore they are looking at going elsewhere, Cote d'Ivoire, for example. So reducing tax or announcement that they are going to reduce taxes, it's good news. However, we also have to look at it on the other side that once government is going to, for example, we have a pledge that or a commitment that we are going to maintain a budget deficit of 6.7%. If we reduce government taxes and there is no alternative for government to fall on, then this budget deficit will not be met. And the repercussions of that will be that we could have inflation, the CD will fall, and we'll be back to the high inflationary rates we witnessed around 2022, 2023 again. So we have to look at both sides very well and make sure that some of these commitments that government have, no matter the case or how difficult the situation is, we would keep to these commitments.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. Gideon Ayi Owu is a partner, tax and regulatory services at Deloitte, Ghana. Now, let's still stay on the NDC's manifesto. And the NDC spokesperson on the economy, Isaac Adungo, insists the party's promise to introduce a new pension scheme for organized groups in the informal sector is necessary. He spoke on Newsroom earlier today.
We are aware that at the moment, the working class, particularly the informal sector, is not being properly covered in terms of their retirement. And it is also the reason that most funds that could be available to grow the capital base of our country and improve investment are not being tapped for national development. It is for this reason that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is proposing the establishment of a pension scheme which caters to the needs of the poor and underprivileged, and largely the informal sector. And the reason is what I have just explained, and our intention is to provide different levels of pension cover to meet the needs of these underserved group of people. And so in 2025, our vision is to establish a pension scheme that will cater to the needs of the underserved.
So how is it going to be like?
We would develop this as part of the general financial inclusion policy that we are implementing, which will seek to bring a lot of Ghanaians into the financial system. So you will be able to contribute to your scheme either on a weekly or monthly basis as your income would support, so that those funds are mobilized and invested in order to create a pool of funds that can be shared among pension holders, so that by the time you retire, your pension would have accumulated enough returns, and that can be calculated and provided to you as part of your social safety net, so that you can be able to go on retirement in peace and continue to receive benefits thereon.
You just heard Isaac Adungo there. He's the NDC spokesperson on the economy. Now, let's still stay on the economy. And the former finance minister, Seth Terkper, has hit back at Dr. Bawumia over claims John Dramani Mahama does not understand economics. Now, the vice president at his Meet the Press took a dig at former president Mahama over assertions the economy has worsened under his administration. But Seth Terkper did not take kindly those words.
If every leader aspiring to be president has to be an expert in every sector of the economy which comes under his purview, we would not get one person qualified enough to be president. Let me repeat. I'm saying that if everybody aspiring to be president has to have knowledge, deep knowledge of all the sectors which will come under his purview, we will not have one person qualifying to be president. That is why we have a cabinet. And that is where leadership is important. And with all due respect to Vice President Bawumia, with all due respect, and I say with all due respect because he's senior, but some of the people in President Mahama's administration, least of all who were running the central bank, were his seniors at the central bank, capable of giving President Mahama solid advice on how to tackle banking sector crisis. We had a whole global banking crisis. I don't think that President Trump, I don't think President Biden, those who managed those crises, needed to be central bankers to resolve the banking crisis. And it was global. You have only few people in finance, and yet they resolved them based on a mark of leadership. So again, with all due respect to my president and to my vice president, I think the statement is condescending. It's very condescending.
Said Tekwa is a former finance minister. And that's how we end this edition of Campaign Trail here on your Election Hub. And on Starr today, join us tomorrow and the coming days for more updates of what is happening in the camps of the political parties. But up next is sports, and Benghazi is here in the studios. Benghazi, good evening.
Good evening to you, Tutuwaa. Now in sports, Ghana's Black Princesses will face South Korea in a friendly game as part of preparations for the upcoming FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup to be held in Colombia. The team who held Mexico to a goalless drawn game in their first friendly after their arrival in Colombia will now meet the Asian side, who are making their 12th appearance at the world stage. They're going to be played tomorrow at the Centro Deportivo in Bogota at 8 p.m. tomorrow. And that's indeed Tuesday. Still with some news on the local front, and President of the GFA, together with over 124 members of Congress, already are in Pram ahead of tomorrow's main Congress day. Now, for the first day, Congress is spanning for 2 days, today and tomorrow, and already they are in there. We'll be commissioning some new projects that have been done at a renovated Pram. That's a Center for Excellence for football at the particular grounds in Pram. Tomorrow will be the D-Day for the Congress itself, which will tee off the new season for the Ghana football season. That's in the GPL Division 1, Division 2, all of them. After Congress tomorrow, then the football season can then kick off, as Congress will be the main thing to usher in the football season. Now to the Paralympic Games, which is kicking off in just some few days' time in Paris. Now, Nigerian athletes Kayode and Christiana Alabi are set to make history at the Paralympic Games in Paris, as they will become the first African para couple to compete at a multi-sport event. Their love story began in 2017 when they met during a national camp in Lagos, and they developed a mutual friendship that has blossomed to career success. Now, they spoke to BBC Sports Africa on their journey and aspirations they have for the upcoming Paralympic Games to be held in Paris in a few days' time.
No, bites me. This is how me and my husband practice every day.
She's my mommy. She can beat me any day, anytime.
Meets the table tennis couple hoping to be Paralympic champions.
I find joy doing this sport. Each time I'm playing, I don't have anything to worry about. It has really done a lot of things for me. I can beat him any day, anytime.
I'm Nigerian para table tennis champion. I'm Nigerian #1 in my category. I'm also a African #1.
Both Christiana and Kayode had polio as children, which has caused them to both have disabilities.
I was not born like this. Maybe the time that I'll be 5 to 6 years, so I discovered polio. It's not easy to be a physical challenge in this country. You do many things by yourself. Just for example, I'm coming to training. It's difficult for me to meet up with the transport. When bus stop was crowded, I had to be the last person to board the bus.
My family, I don't think that they see me like someone that, that will become something in life. For me not to face stress, not to face abuse outside. But due to this sport, I'm not always shy the way I shied before. I can speak publicly.
Less than 1% of disabled people in Nigeria are employed, and less than 2% have access to education. Table tennis has allowed Christiana and Kayode to have both and to find each other. They met during a national camp in 2017 ahead of the Commonwealth Games.
That's when he saw me. So he came to me, he started drawing attention with, but then I was not giving him much attention.
Christiana moved to Lagos to be with Kayode and further a career.
We got married in 2022, but before that, my family, they were not against the relationship. They liked the relationship and his own family too, but outsiders, they were seeing it as an abomination.
They faced stigma because of being from different parts of Nigeria and both been disabled, but they are hoping to break barriers and pave the way for others.
We help each other. I qualified at the African Championship. I won my category class 5 women's single, and I was the first person to qualify before my husband. I'm glad that we made it together.
It is the couple's first Paralympics.
My expectation is to get to the top, bring honor to Nigeria, to my family, to my husband. So I really want to make him happy. I want to get to the top.
My target is to collect gold for the country and make the Africa proud as well.
And that's a special report by the BBC Sports for Africa. And of course, wishing the teams out there, including the Ghana team at the Paralympic Games, the very best of luck. Kicking off in just a few days time in Paris. That's it for sports.
Thank you very much, Benghazi, for the sports updates there. Let's take some updates from the foreign fronts now. And the Fair Wage Work Commission, FWC, in Australia has passed the Rights to Disconnect rule, which offers relief to workers who feel forced to take calls or reply to messages from their employers after they finish their day's work. Now, this law allows employees to ignore calls or messages from their bosses after work is over without fear of being punished. Now, according to a survey conducted in the country, every year, Australians work over 281 hours of overtime unpaid, which prompted the passage of the law. The law also highlighted that employers can be fined a sum of up to 19,000 Australian dollars for an employee or up to 94,000 Australian dollars for a company by the Fair Wages Commission if they fail to comply. And that wraps up this edition of Starr Today here on Starr FM. With one news update, log on to starfm.com.gh. I am Tutuwaa Danso, and of course, this production was led by my colleagues, Prince Essien, Edem Kojo, Benjamin Saki, and Emmanuel made sure this program was streamed on our social media pages. We'll be back tomorrow with more news updates. Thank you very much for your time. Good evening.